Albert Einstein, the genius who changed the world. Part 1. Early Life and Education, 1879 to 1905. Albert Einstein was born on 14th March 1879 in Ulm, in the Kingdom of Württemberg, German Empire. His father, Hermann Einstein, was a salesman and engineer, and his mother, Pauline Koch, was a homemaker with a passion for music. The family soon moved to Munich, where Hermann and his brother founded an electrical company. Albert's early childhood was marked by curiosity and a tendency to observe more than participate. Einstein was a late speaker, which worried his parents. However, he showed a keen interest in mathematics and science. A pivotal moment in his childhood was when his father showed him a magnetic compass. He became fascinated by the invisible force that guided the needle. This sparked a lifelong interest in the unseen laws of nature. At school, Einstein often rebelled against strict authority. He disliked rote memorization and preferred subjects that stimulated thought, like mathematics and philosophy. His secondary schooling at the Luitpold Gymnasium in Munich was rigid, and he eventually left without completing his diploma. His family moved to Milan, and Albert followed them, effectively becoming a dropout. Determined to continue his education, he applied to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic at Zurich, but failed the entrance exam. He excelled in math and physics, but performed poorly in languages and humanities. Encouraged to finish secondary school, he attended the Aargau Cantonal School in Switzerland, where he thrived in a freer learning environment. He graduated in 1896 and was admitted to the Polytechnic. There, Einstein met Mileva Maric, a Serbian physics student, who would later become his wife. He graduated in 1900 but struggled to find a teaching job, possibly due to his attitude toward authority. In 1902, he took a job as a technical assistant at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, a position that allowed him time to think and develop ideas in theoretical physics. In 1905, while still working at the patent office, Einstein published 4 papers that would reshape science forever. This became known as his Annus Mirabilis, or Miracle Year. Part 2. Miracle Year and Scientific Breakthroughs, 1905. In 1905, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers in the journal Annales der Physik, each of which would eventually revolutionize the field of physics. Photoelectric effect. Einstein proposed that light is made of discrete packets of energy called quanta, later called photons. This explained why electrons are emitted from metal surfaces only when light reaches a certain frequency, a phenomenon that classical wave theory couldn't explain. This paper would later win him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. Brownian motion. He gave a mathematical explanation of the random motion of particles suspended in a fluid. This helped confirm the existence of atoms and molecules, which was still debated at the time. Special theory of relativity. Einstein redefined the concepts of space and time, asserting that the laws of physics are the same for all non-accelerating observers and that the speed of light is constant regardless of the observer's motion. He introduced concepts like time dilation and length contraction, revolutionizing modern physics. Mass-energy equivalence, E is equal to mc superscript 2. Einstein showed that mass and energy are interchangeable. A small amount of mass can be converted into a large amount of energy, as expressed in his now famous formula E is equal to mc superscript 2. These works were done while Einstein was still an outsider to the academic community. Yet his genius began to be recognized, especially by prominent physicist Max Planck, who championed his work. In 1908, Einstein finally secured a position as a lecturer at the University of Bern, and by 1909, he was a professor at the University of Zurich. His academic journey had officially begun. Part 3. Rise to Fame and General Theory of Relativity, 1909 to 1921. As Einstein entered the academic world, he began working on extending his theory of relativity to include gravity. His goal was to develop a general theory of relativity, one that would replace Newton's theory of gravity, which had stood unchallenged for centuries. Between 1912 and 1915, Einstein worked intensively on complex mathematical problems involving tensor calculus. With help from mathematician Marcel Grossman, he developed a set of field equations describing how matter and energy warp the fabric of spacetime and how this curvature is experienced as gravity. In 1915, he published the General Theory of Relativity, asserting that massive objects cause spacetime to curve, and this curvature affects the motion of other objects. In practical terms, this meant that the orbit of planets and the path of light could be affected by gravitational fields. His theory was confirmed in 1919 when British astronomer Arthur Eddington led an expedition to observe a solar eclipse. The observations showed that starlight bent around the sun, just as Einstein predicted. This confirmation made Einstein a global celebrity overnight. Newspapers around the world hailed him as a genius who had overturned Newton. He traveled extensively, lecturing across Europe, Asia, and the US. In 1921, he received the Nobel Prize, not for relativity, but for his explanation of the photoelectric effect, because relativity was still controversial in some scientific circles. Part 4. Later Life, Exile, and Work in America, 1922 to 1955. Though Einstein was enjoying fame, the world around him was becoming increasingly unstable. The rise of Nazism in Germany threatened the lives and freedoms of Jewish citizens, and Einstein, being both Jewish and outspoken, became a target. In 1933, he was on a lecture tour in the US when Hitler came to power. Einstein decided not to return to Germany. His property was confiscated, and he was branded an enemy of the Nazi regime. He accepted a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, where he would remain for the rest of his life. In the US, Einstein became an advocate for civil rights, pacifism, and Zionism. He spoke out against racism and segregation in America, supported the NAACP, and corresponded with W.E.B. Du Bois. Despite being a pacifist, Einstein signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1939 warning about Nazi Germany's efforts to develop atomic weapons. This letter helped initiate the Manhattan Project, though Einstein himself did not work on it. After World War II, Einstein became an advocate for nuclear disarmament, warning of the dangers of atomic weapons. He declined the presidency of Israel in 1952, citing his lack of experience in political matters. Scientifically, Einstein spent his later years trying to unify the forces of nature in a single unified field theory, but he never succeeded. He was increasingly isolated from the mainstream physics community, which had embraced quantum mechanics, a theory Einstein admired but never fully accepted. Part 5. Personal Life, Philosophy, and Legacy. Albert Einstein's personal life was as complex as his theories. His marriage to Mileva Maric deteriorated over time. They divorced in 1919, and Einstein soon married his cousin, Elsa Lowenthal, who supported him during his rise to fame. He had two sons, Hans Albert, who became an engineer, and Eduard, who suffered from schizophrenia and spent much of his life in institutions. Einstein remained deeply troubled by Eduard's condition. Einstein had a warm, humorous personality and a deep sense of morality. He was an agnostic who often spoke of a cosmic religion, inspired by the beauty and order of the universe. He opposed dogma and organized religion, but had a profound sense of wonder about existence. He died on 18 April 1955, at the age of 76, in Princeton, New Jersey, of an abdominal aortic aneurysm. In accordance with his wishes, his body was cremated and his ashes scattered. However, his brain was removed without consent by the pathologist for study, a controversial act that led to decades of scientific curiosity and ethical debate. Einstein's legacy is immense. He changed how we understand the universe and inspired generations of scientists. Beyond his scientific contributions, he stood for peace, equality, and intellectual freedom. His name is now synonymous with genius, and his image remains one of the most recognized in the world. If this story inspired you, please hit like, share, and subscribe button. For more extraordinary stories, stay tuned to my channel. Thank you for watching.